Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Barry Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. I've got an interesting show for you today in that I have a couple companies in the news, about a handful of those, and I've got a couple companies that are new to my list of picks. And so I'm going to start out with the news and the picks, some more news from companies, and then I'll talk about the trends in gold and silver that I see are very impressive at the end of the show. Usually I start with that, but I'll end with that today. And I want to get right into the news. And the first one today is Coeur Mining. Coeur announced their second quarter 2025 results. They give you the highlights, which are strong production and cost performance drove margin expansion. We always like to hear margin expansion. Each of Coeur's five operations generated strong production increases and delivered positive free cash flow. Quarterly silver production of 4.7 million ounces was 27% higher quarter over quarter and 79% higher year over year. A lot of that has to do with the acquisition of a company that many of my audience will remember, which is Silvercrest. We started following Silvercrest in the reports before they brought their Las Chispas mine into production. And it was such a success that it ultimately led to Coeur buying out Silvercrest at a significant premium from when we first started covering it. I think about 14 or 12, 14 times higher. So that was a great pick, and it's a great asset now for Coeur, which has helped them increase quarter over quarter silver production and year over year dramatically, 80%. Their gold production also seen a significant improvement, 25% quarter over quarter and 38% year over year. Uh, and they talk about their record quarterly financial results of positive free cash flow, which increased more than eightfold versus the prior quarter to a record of 146 million. Very good news, and the Las Chispas mine that they got from Silvercrest contributed to that quite significantly because it is a low cost producer, which helped them bring down their costs of production of both silver and gold, and also increase their production. So when you do that, you got high margins and you make a lot of money, 146 million. Just to put that into context, in the second quarter of 2025, Tesla, the company on everybody's mind, made $190 million of free cash flow in the second quarter. So gold mining is a pretty good business these days, gold and silver mining. They talk about their earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. That doesn't mean a lot to me. I'm most interested in what happens after earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization, which is your free cash flow. And as they stated, it was a record of 146 million. They accelerated their debt reduction initiative. Now, bear in mind when it comes to that, part of the asset that they got when they bought Silvercrest was Silvercrest had $200 million in cash, gold, and silver. So that's not a recurring event. That's a one-time event that helped them to pay down debt. But that from going forward, that debt reduction will have to come from production. But as you can see, they're making really good free cash flow. And if gold and silver goes up like I think it will, that will continue and they will be able to pay down the debt. Later on, they have a table that I'll show you where that stands. They talk about their stock repurchase program. The Rochester crushed ore rates continue to increase. Now, Rochester is part of the reason why they had about $600 million in debt was bringing that into production. So these metrics on how that is going is very important. They talk about reaffirming their full year production and cost guidance. You can see that in the news release. There's a quote from Mitchell Krebs, who's their chairman, president, and chief executive officer. Wow, he wears a lot of hats. And he stated, and I quote, Coeur's record second quarter reflects strong contributions from all five of our North American gold and silver operations, including the first full quarter from the recently acquired Las Chispas mine. Uh, I'll interject here that that's the Silvercrest. When they bought Silvercrest, that's for the Las Chispas mine. He goes on, and I quote, together with the benefit of higher gold and silver prices, we saw a step change in our financial results in the quarter, including an impressive 146 million of free cash flow, while we eliminated the remaining balance on our RCF and began buying back shares. Looking ahead to the second half of the year, we expect even higher gold and silver production levels, consistent with our reaffirmed 2025 production and cost guidance. We remain uniquely positioned to leverage higher gold and silver prices, which is expected to lead to over 800 million of full year 2025 adjusted earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization, and over 400 million of full year 2025 free cash flow. Again, it's the free cash flow that matters the most to me. So later in the report, they talk about their gold sales, silver sales, revenue, costs, general and administrative, net income. But let's get down to brass tacks here. Free cash flow, there you go, 146 million. In the first quarter of 2025, it was 17.6 million. In the fourth quarter, it was 16.1. So as you can see, a very impressive change to their free cash flow, partially attributed to the the takeover of Silvercrest at Las Chispas mine and the higher prices of gold and silver during the second quarter of 2025. Interesting statistics on the total debt. So back in the third quarter of 2024, before they had acquired Las Chispas and fully integrated it, they had about $600 million in debt. Fourth quarter dropped to 590. First quarter 25, 498. And at the second quarter, it dropped down to 380. So they've reduced their debt by a significant 220 million. This gives you all the financial details. So, yeah, they're a very good acquisition of Silvercrest for their Las Chispas mine. And it helped them to pay down a good chunk of their debt because they acquired $200 million. It helped them increase their production of silver and gold and decrease their costs. Now with Rochester coming online, it looks like they're in a strong position. Now, I didn't sort of switch from talking about Silvercrest and then switch into Coeur mining. What concerned me a little bit was the amount of debt that they took on and had been kind of sitting on a lot of debt for a long time. And I felt that was, they didn't change management. So the ones that kind of got them in all that debt, that was bailed out by Las Chispas, the management stayed the same. So I chose not to make that switch. But I think that they are definitely turned a significant corner. As you can see, as you know, a lot of this good news about getting um, uh, Silvercrest and how that's improving their operations, their financial situation, their debt situation, their free cash flow situation, which again was enhanced by the price of gold and copper, or sorry, gold and silver. The stock ran up quite nicely, has been going sideways. A lot of big gold and precious metal producers are kind of doing this because gold is doing the same. I'll talk about that later. But look at the performance since they announced their quarterly report, or even anticipation of it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not, Coeur is not a pick of mine, but I wanted to talk about it because it just goes to show you that when a company that, was mired in a lot of debt makes a smart acquisition, it can change the outlook for that company quite significantly. The next company I'm going to talk about is the major silver miner that I will choose to pick in the reports instead of Coeur, and that is Pan American Silver. All right, so they also had their quarterly report out, and record net earnings of 189 million, dividend increase of 20%. Uh, they reported their quarter ended June 30th. And here again, record free cash flow of 233 million in Q2 resulted in a record high cash balance of 1.1 billion at the end of the quarter, said Michael Steinman, who's the president and chief executive officer. He went on, and I quote, "We will invest 500 million of that cash as part of the consideration for our acquisition of Mag Silver, with the high margin Juanicipio mine in Mexico immediately contributing to free cash flow upon the transaction closing. Juanicipio is expected to increase our silver production by roughly 35% on an annualized basis and meaningfully reduce all-in sustaining costs while offering excellent exploration potential for future growth. This top-tier asset further positions Pan American as the leading investment name in the silver space. We are also pleased to announce a 20% dividend increase from 10 cents to 12 cents per common share with respect to Q2 2025. In conjunction with our share buyback program, we have returned approximately 103.5 million to our shareholders during the first half of 2025. Furthermore, we are on track to achieve our production and cost guidance for 2025. So, as you can see, the comparables they're making more money. They got a big war chest of cash there, 1.1 billion. They've also acquired Mag Silver. This is another name that my audience will remember because Mag Silver was a pick in the reports that we talked about several times, actually before they brought that into production. And now it's a fantastic mine and bolts into Pan American Silver in a very significant way. As they state, it increases their production by 35%, and it's still really wide open for exploration because Mag Silver is basically the Juanicipio vein and the Valdecanas, and it looks like there could be more. And so that's a very significant acquisition. Their consolidated Q2 2025 results: silver production 5.1 million ounces, gold production 178,000 ounces, revenue of 811 million, Record net earnings, largely driven by record mine operating earnings of 273 million. Record cash flow, 293. Record free cash flow of 233 million. Uh, All-in sustaining cost of $19.69 per silver ounce, excluding net realizable value inventory adjustments. Um, Gold segment, all-in sustaining cost is $1,611 per ounce. Good way to make money when you can sell it for 3,300 or thereabouts. Working capital of 1.3 billion and 750 million available under their undrawn credit facility. Their total available liquidity is 1.859 billion. So they have a lot of options they can do with that cash. Total debt 820 million. So they've got two times their debt to over to 225% of their debt is in cash. So they could wipe that out if they wanted to and still have a billion left over, billion in a bit. They maintain their 2025 operating outlook, cash dividend, repurchasing. Then they give you details about their assets and their transaction. On May the 11th, they acquired Mag Silver. Um, I'll let you read the rest of that by going to their news release. Let's have a look at their stock. Their symbol is PAAS. And with those metrics, that's why I'm making Pan American Silver as my major that you gives you exposure to silver mining. And so, as you can see, over the last year or so, it started down here in the lower left at about the low was 1769, closed today at 2935, with sometimes acquisitions like a Mag Silver, the analysts tend to need a quarter or two or three of how that's performing inside of the acquirer. Um, you know, I've followed the Juanicipio mine for a long time, so I'm pretty comfortable with what I see there and how that integration is going. And so that's why I'm ready to make them an official pick in the report today. And yeah, loaded up with cash, very good debt to cash ratio, gives them a lot of flexibility to make other acquisitions or optimize what they have, do aggressive exploration. They're really in a good spot, and I think I'm really happy to add them. I like this 200-day moving average is going up at a nice angle. It was the 50-day was kind of flatlining until here. Then it started to improve quite significantly. It has a significant gap between the 50-day and the 200-day. I do believe that it's ready to make a significant move to new yearly highs and see that 50-day gain more distance between the 200-day and also see the 200-day continue on this healthy trajectory. So happy to have Pan American as my third major gold mining pick. The other two are Agnico Eagle in gold and Newmont in gold as well. Alrighty, so now we're going to go to a brand new pick, which is a junior, Golden Cross Resources. They have what I look for, the check boxes, if you will, of what I look for in an orogenic gold system. This is not very far from one of the world's greatest orogenic gold systems, which was the Fosterville Mine. The success of the Fosterville Mine under Kirkland Lake led to them being a takeover. And now these guys are not very far away looking for another orogenic gold system. Now, they got this project from another junior that actually had drilled this project, but they were doing it back when gold exploration was out of favor. And they were also, while they were doing that, they were concurrently moving into Papua New Guinea. So they decided that they wanted to focus on Papua New Guinea, and this project became available. Golden Cross got it. Now, the other company retains an interest in the project and also shares in Golden Cross. So now Golden Cross is advancing this project. As you can see, here's the Fosterville mine. Just a free cash flow machine of a mine. What makes it such is that these orogenic gold systems can be very high grade, well, are very high grade in the case of Fosterville, and low cost. So you make a lot of free cash flow, and that's why I love these kind of projects. And now, as you can see, Golden Cross is, let's see the scale, about 50 kilometers from Fosterville. But of course, it's in the same kind of age of rocks. It has the right kind of structural environment to have these high-grade orogenic gold systems. And most importantly, it's already has drill holes into it, and they're currently drilling. There's their management team. They talk about the Victoria region and all the great mines there, including Fosterville. So here's the project. And as you can see here, all these little red dots, those are historic gold workings. So this is where old timers would go in and do see the veins and mine those veins and had little workings. And so, as you can see on this structure here called the Reedy Creek anticline, there's a just a phenomenal amount of them. Now, bear in mind that Southern Cross, this is a significant mine. It was found, and there was very little uh, historic historical mine workings. So as you can see, just a phenomenal amount of those old workings there. Lots up here and more over here. A good amount over here. This is all this black with the blue background is the Golden Cross's property, and this is the key focus of their drilling. Here is where they're showing some of the historical drilling. 11 meters of 5.3 grams, 12 meters of 8.7 meters of 4.6 grams, and that's really right at surface. And it's important to note that in these orogenic gold veins or lenses, if you will, they tend to have very deep roots. The source can be down thousands of meters. And the tendency is, as you get into the what's called the bonanza portion of those veins, like they found at Fosterville when they got down around 800 meters, is where they found the eagle or the big great discoveries that led to the free cash flow machine of a mine there. Again, here, this is they explain it as these veins being like a ladder with the steps in the ladder. And what you'll notice here is that They got a whole bunch of these steps, which is coincides with where the historical mining was done. So they're going to focus here at the start, but that doesn't mean they couldn't find something great here, over here, here, up here. So they're really a target rich company. Let's see, here is some of the work to date. Look at some of these high grade hits, zero point 0.7 meters of 239 grams of gold, 7 meters of 48. This is the nature of these orogenic gold veins. They tend to be narrow, super high grade, and vertically dipping, steeply dipping, sorry. And so yeah, they've got high grade in many locations, a meter of 19.5, up here 4 meters at 10.87, down here 2 meters at 325. And so these are separate lenses that will all need to be drilled, and these are their drill holes in black that are going after those. And in gold here is the mineralized trends. So they're going after these mineralized trends. You can see 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 holes down around this area where they hit 21 grams, 325 grams, then a bunch of holes up in here where they hit that bonanza grades. Um, this is just a zoom in to this area up here. They zoom in and you can see where their planned holes are in black and where some of the past holes were drilled. You know, these orogenic gold systems, as I said, they're steeply dipping, they're narrow, but they're super high grade. And so they're not simple to understand. They have complex structural complexity to the structural network. That complexity is good. That's what you want to see, but it makes for challenging exploration. So you really need to understand that structural complexity to really target in on where you're going to find the guts of the system, if you will. So they're doing a very good job in that effort. Here is some data. So, they're modeling they're using artificial intelligence to model, train to discover specific mineral systems, epithermal, and in this case, orogenic gold. They utilize algorithms to identify complex correlations across vast data sets. As I mentioned earlier, these you can have structures going in all different directions. These are cracks in the earth that the gold bearing fluids make their way up. And so you need to be able to put the pieces of the puzzle together in order to find a mine in there. And so as you can see, they're using sophisticated tools to do that. They only have 71 million common shares, fully diluted 85.4. So really nice share structure. Love to see that. And so, yeah, these are, as I said, they have all of the boxes checked for what I look for when I'm looking for a great orogenic gold project. And you know, they were very fortunate that the previous company went after this when the market was not too excited about gold exploration, so they were able to get it at a get it, be able to acquire it for one, and be able to acquire it for a reasonable price. And the company they acquired it from keeps an interest in the success here while they're off in Papua New Guinea. So yeah, I like everything I hear about this project. It's got the right age of rocks. It's near an important orogenic gold mine. It's got the right structural environment. It's got the all this past production by the old timers that dug pits, chasing these veins that came to surface. And now they're really rolling up their sleeves with AI. They're well funded, so they can really go at this in a substantial way. And I think that will ultimately lead them to success. And that's why I'm officially making them a new pick in the report in my gold exploration list. All right, the next company I'm going to talk about is Wolfden. Here we go. So Wolfden, the initial iteration, the first iteration of Wolfden was a pick that was very successful in my reports, and I picked it early. They ultimately got bought out, and now this is the second iteration of Wolfden. And this is the key project that excites me for Wolfden at this point. It's a epithermal vein system in Nevada that they are acquiring a 75% interest in what is called the Rockland property in the Walker Lane Trend of Nevada. It's south of the city of Yerington, 1,000 hectares. And Don Dudek, who's their VP Exploration, stated, and I quote, "The Rockland East target, in our opinion, represents one of the most exciting drill-ready exploration targets in the Walker Lane Trend, as it consists of one, gold intercepts that return 1 gram per ton of gold equivalent over 146 meters that ended in mineralization. Two, an historic bonanza type gold silver mine is part of the property package. Three, multi square kilometer scale argillic to advanced argillic, rhyolite, and basin margin debris hosted alteration zones that are cut by quartz veins enriched in antimony, arsenic, and gold. And four, geophysical data that suggests zones where hydrothermal fluids upwelled and subsequently ponded, creating wide, lower grade gold zones that are interpreted to flank high grade bonanza type gold grades at depth, stated Don Dudek, VP Exploration. And he went on, and I quote, "These are the typical characteristics exhibited by some of the high quality gold deposits in the Gold Walker Lane Trend. As part of our due diligence, 4 rock and core assay rejects, non-oxidized samples containing 1 gram to 10 grams of gold were subjected to a 24-hour bottle roll cyanide leach using leach well as a catalyst, resulted in gold recoveries ranging from 85 to 98%, and suggests the potential for good conventional gold recoveries. We look forward to being in position to commence a minimum 5,000 foot core drill program before the end of the year by taking advantage of the previously approved drill program permitting." Now, that took a little longer than by the end of 2024, but recently they put together the financing and they're about to start drilling. Now, as is often the case when VPs of exploration geologists write quotes, it tends to be very heavy on geospeak, and I want to try to interpret that for you. Basically, the Walker Lane Trend is an important trend in Nevada, but it's not nearly as well known as other trends in Nevada, but it's really emerging as a exciting region of Nevada, primarily because Anglo has made a massive discovery that looks like it could be over 20 million ounces of gold at their Silicon project, not far from the old Bullfrog mine that's in the Walker Lane Trend. And so things are heating up in the Walker Lane trend. And this is an excellent project because it looks like they've got a vein system, a network, or a cluster of epithermal veins that could be and are in some instances high in the system, already seeing very high grades of gold. So it will be interesting for them to get drilling deeper. And as I said, they've recently done a $2 million financing, so they're getting ready to get this drilling underway. Uh, there's some other good data here. So this shows you the Carlin trend, the Battle Mountain trend, the Getchell trend, and these Carlin and Battle Mountain, Eureka, or the granddaddies, if you will, of the trends in Nevada. A lot of the exploration has been done up there. But as I mentioned earlier, the Silicon Merlin discovery is currently sitting at around 13 million ounces of gold, and in an oxide discovery, and it looks like it can get a lot bigger. So this is, sort of opening up this Walker Lane trend that is not as well explored as the Battle Mountain and the Carlin trend. And there's the Rockland project, and sitting in behind that is the Borealis mine that is owned by Borealis Mining, one of the picks in my reports. So I was very intrigued when I heard of this acquisition, basically right next door to Borealis and Aurora. The Aurora and Borealis mines are basically right beside each other. And now they've acquired Rockland, which is just to the immediate north. And as you can see in this map here, this shows you the cluster of quartz veins and some of the important structures associated. And I believe this is geophysics in the background here as well. They don't note that on the, oh yeah, CSAMT. Yeah, so that's a geophysical anomaly or geophysical survey. Um, and it shows some interesting stuff. So let's go down further here. So here is some of the past drilling. As you can see, when you're above it, you got nothing or just little sniffs here and there. Then when you get into it, you start getting into the vein and you're seeing 42.7 meters of 1.7 grams, 146 of a gram. And this is indicative of being above the boiling zone of an epithermal vein. Now, why that's important is in the boiling zone of an epithermal vein, that is where the temperature and the pressure is perfect to have important mines. And that's what, all the great epithermal veins. There's some in Nevada, such as Sleeper. And then there's a whole bunch of them down in Mexico where I live. And that's what you're really after. You're not really after this stuff as much as you're after getting to the boiling zone deeper. And so as you can see here, they plan to put two holes in that go underneath the gold mineralization, and these will test the extensions and try to find more. Uh, what is this cross section? This must be structures here, but they don't note it. Okay, I'll move on. And here again, here's where you're looking for, there's those proposed holes and where they're trying to get down to the boiling zone or the guts of the system, if you will. This is the Silicon project over here, and this is the Merlin project over here. And this is at the same scale. So you can see that, you could fit a Merlin in there or a silicon in there. Uh, And so it's an excellent target to be looking for epithermal veins. They know that they're there. They know that they're mineralized with gold. They know that the depth potential is open to go after the key guts of these epithermal veins. And with the recent financing, I'm very excited to also add Wolfden to my current list of picks for gold exploration companies. Alrighty, let's move into our next company. Once my computer, well, let's move into the next company, which is Ramp Metals. This is a current pick of mine, uh, and they had results out. Okay. Now before I start talking about them, let's pull up their chart because I want to show you something here. Why you want to read into these news releases and try to understand what you're reading. Because when they put the news out, as you can see, the stock just got hammered. Now, last year on their discovery hole, they hit a 75-gram hole with gold over that intersection over 7.5 meters. So that caused this big move over here. And the anticipation of getting back in there saw it grow all the way to up here. But then it took a while for the results to come out, and everybody started to speculate in here that, oh, probably didn't hit on the gold target. And when the news actually came out, it just got slammed. Okay. So why am I talking favorably about it? Well, I'll show you. So now they're looking for an orogenic gold system at this high grade discovery they made. In orogenic gold systems, how the gold gets up towards the surface and then makes deposits is it needs a conduit or a crack in the rocks in order for those gold bearing fluids to make their way up, a path of least resistance, if you will. Now, in orogenic gold systems, you can have very complex structures or cracks in the earth and faulting where the rocks move. And this can displace your gold. It can make exploration difficult when you're only less than 10 holes into a system. And so there was lots of anticipation based on the discovery hole that, oh, it was going to be simple, put down another 6 or 7 holes and, you know, just start counting your money. Well, Mother Nature doesn't work like that, especially in these orogenic gold systems. They have, as I said, these complex structures, these complex cracks in the earth, which are exactly what you want, but they make exploration challenging. The reason that you go after them is the prize can be so phenomenal that it's worth the money to explore to try to figure that out. Now, the market doesn't like that, but Mother Nature doesn't care about the market. And the truth machine doesn't care about the market either. So, it takes work. You got to roll up your sleeves. You got to understand the structures and where the gold could be pooling up into a deposit that can be mined. So I think a lot of people looked at those results with very little gold in it and thought, oh, they killed it. I don't agree with that at all. But what they also had was not very far away from that gold discovery. They had a geophysical anomaly that was quite impressive. And they had done some sampling. It looked like it could be what's called a volcanogenic massive sulfide system. And so what these systems are is volcanoes. So they come up and they create these VMS deposits. And I can confidently say that they have now a drill confirmed VMS discovery. But I think that probably, well, 100% of those that hammered the stock were only interested in the gold potential. But look at, I think they've just clipped the edge of a VMS system, and look what they hit: 1.21% copper, 9.34% zinc, sniff of silver in there over 3.53 meters in Rush 001, and 0.78% copper, 1.9% zinc, sniff of lead, sniffs of silver over 27 meters. Now, this is really interesting because in a VMS system, as I said, it's a volcano. So the closer you are to the vent, or let's call it the heat engine, there is zonation of grade as you go away from that vent. So as you're at the core of that vent, you would see gold and copper. And as you get further away from the vent, you start to see uh, lead, zinc, and silver in the system. So the fact that they're getting both copper, zinc, silver, lead suggests to me that they're probably, just on the edge of something, and not really in the guts of it yet. But that something could be it's quite great because you're looking at high grade copper and high grade zinc already, and they're just making their first few holes, like 10 holes into it, and they got copper in one, two, three, four, five of the holes, ranging from as low as 0.44%. Some companies would be happy with that, all the way up to 1.29%. And notice in that hole where they had the highest copper, they also had the highest zinc, 12.38% zinc, over 2.55 meters. But they had a 27-meter intersection of 0.78. And so these VMSs, they kind of come in these zones, and they could be just starting to get into these zones in a brand new VMS discovery. Their CEO, Jordan Black, stated, and I quote, "The copper zinc VMS discovery at Rush marks an exciting breakthrough for ramp metals. These intercepts from Rush could be compared to those from the initial phases of Foran Mining's McIlvenna Bay deposit, which is also located in Saskatchewan. Rush hosts, that's the name of the project. Rush hosts high grade, near surface mineralization alongside a large, untested anomaly, with results pointing to the potential for a significant and high impact VMS system. With numerous additional geophysical targets identified and copper market fundamentals stronger than ever, we believe the timing couldn't be better to aggressively advance this discovery. Backed by a robust treasury of over 5 million dedicated to exploration, we're fully committed to unlocking a high-grade gold copper system and driving the Rush target towards a substantial resource." Now, I end quote. I have issues with companies making an initial discovery and already starting to talk about resources. I don't. I believe explorers should be explorers, and until they get to the limits of the deposits and really understand the various deposits in the system, that they shouldn't be thinking about resources. But that's what they are talking about there. Then they give you the table with all the various different hits. This is all the Rush discovery, so that's all VMS. Their VP Exploration, Garrett Smith, he stated, "We are extremely pleased with our new discovery at the Rush VMS target. VMS target deposits tend to form in clusters, and the recently completed geophysics highlight a number of additional targets We look forward to expanding on this new discovery and continuing to track down the high-grade gold encountered during last season. So obviously, they don't think that they've killed the high-grade gold. I don't think that they've killed it. They've only drilled about 8 or 9 holes into it. That is nothing for an orogenic gold system. So they got more work to do on the gold system. If you zoom in on this, you'll see some nice intersections of massive sulfides. That's exactly what you want to see in a VMS. And importantly, you want those sulfides to contain high grades of copper, zinc, lead, silver, and possibly gold as they get closer to the heat engine or the vent of the volcano that caused this mineralization. They have some more core photos here. Here is where you can see where they hit it, where they hit the zones. They got a nice run here of the in rush 10 or rush 010. Yeah, so that's rush 10. Now let's go back here and let's look at their best hole, which in my opinion was this 1.29% copper and 12.38% zinc. And that's rush 009. So keep that in mind when I scroll down here and get to 009. So that's way over here. And as you can see, it had several hits along there. And in the background is a geophysical anomaly. You need to zoom in, but it actually is, it's a subtle anomaly, but it's associated with significant mineralization. So the scale on this is, I think you're looking side to side at about, I'm guessing about 450 meters and still open in both directions. Uh, Here is the Ranger drilling. They drilled here, 2 holes here. This was the discovery hole. It was Ranger 1. And that you can't really see it that well, but yeah, so you're just sort of poking around, and what you're really trying to understand are the structures. And there seems to be a series of southwest to northeast or northeast to southwest. I always mix those up. I have my dyslexic moments. But it's pretty distinct, the trends of the structures. Now, what will also probably be is cross-cutting structures that are a little more subtle. So, they're trying to understand that. That's what you have to do. Here is some of the geophysical data, and this highlights this geophysics is really good at picking up these structures that I was talking about earlier. And Ranger has, some interesting structures. Not very far north of where they drilled is a hinge where you have an east to west and a northeast southwest hinge. And this is very interesting to me. Again, they've got to do a lot more drilling to figure these kind of systems out. Who knows? It could go all the way up into here, over here, could take a bend and go over here. There's a lot more work to do on the Ranger target. Here is a more zoomed in electromagnetic zooming in on the anomalies. So yeah, I mean they're just really touching parts of these anomalies. They still got a lot more work to do. Now Rush is up here, and these are where you're looking for VMS deposits, and sure enough, they found one, and they've got more targets all the way up in here, all over here. These could all be meaningful. All of these over here. This is a highly prospective claim block that they have. So this is the wildfire perimeter. So there's a wildfire happening there right now. So they have to wait until the fall and winter to get back in there and do more drilling. They're permitting, the company has submitted an amendment to its existing permits requesting a 2-year extension, authorizing for an additional 30,000 meters of drilling and approval to establish a temporary work camp. So this will help bring down their drilling costs. They still have 10 additional holes pending. They're doing more work in geophysics. This will help them pinpoint where to drill, ground and borehole EM. So they're putting sensors down the drill hole to give them a profile around the hole. Field program pending wildfire resolution. So once the wildfires are over, these happen in Canada all the time, they can get in there and do their surface sampling and then follow up drilling anticipated upon receipt of permits pending wildfire resolution. So once the wildfires are over and they get those permits, maybe in the next few months, they'll be back in there drilling, and they have over 5 million dedicated to exploration. So what happens is when people look at results, what they tend to do is they look at the stock action to assess whether the results are good or bad. If the stock is down, the results are bad. If the stock is up, the results are good. And that's what happens when you invest based on headlines and you don't dig into the results. And that can create opportunities. And I really like this project a lot. And I don't think they've killed the gold project. And they've just birthed a VMS discovery. So they got the cash, they're getting the permits, they'll get back in there, they'll do more drilling, and I think they've got a lot more good stuff to come. All right, Orla Mining. This is one of my mid-tier picks, and they had an update. Orla Mining is providing a status update on the recent pit wall event that occurred at its Camino Rojo oxide mine in Zacatecas, Mexico. They're providing an update, a status update on the recent pit wall event. It came down due to very heavy rains in Zacatecas. I know how heavy those rains are because I live not very far from this mine, and we had a very strong, once in a decade kind of rainy season this year, and it caused part of the pit wall to come down. But nobody was hurt, no equipment was damaged, no damage was done to the environment. So now they're talking about what they're doing to move forward. Pit wall event, Camino Rojo experienced an uncontrolled material movement on the north wall on July 23rd, resulting in no injuries or equipment damage. Assessment. A geotechnical assessment supported by third-party consultants has been ongoing, which has informed an action plan and safe restart of mining. North wall stabilization. A 50 to 100 meter pushback of the north wall is planned with a redesigned slope and continuous monitoring to ensure safe operating conditions. Approximately 9 million tons of predominantly oxidized material is expected to be removed and then crushed and stacked on the heap leach from the north wall. So that material that came down, they're going to end up processing it. No material was lost or sterilized in the pit wall event, but rather the update to 2025 guidance is attributed to a deferral of production at Camino Rojo due to grade and recovery mix. All right. I mean, this company handled this situation ideally. They had monitoring. When we saw lots of rain coming in the state of Zacatecas, where I live, they had monitors out there. That's why there was no equipment, no people, nothing was damaged in this abnormally high rainy season in Zacatecas. as I said, I lived in Zacatecas for a decade. The last time I saw this kind of a rainy season was about a decade ago. All right. So there's some inside baseball for you coming from the state of Zacatecas. And their president and chief executive officer, Jason Simpson, stated, and I quote, while the North Wall event at Camino Rojo was a temporary setback, and it has reinforced the importance of our pit wall monitoring, technical planning, risk management, and operational discipline. The team on site acted quickly before the event to ensure safety. Following the event, our broader team, supported by expert consultants, rapidly implemented a comprehensive action plan that prioritizes safety, reinforces slope stability, and allows for continuous operations in Mexico, important for all stakeholders, end quote. So, folks, mining isn't an easy business. You're dealing with Mother Nature. And that's part of the business. It's how you deal with that that's important uh, for safety and for ongoing operations. And as I said, I believe that this company has done an ideal job. They were ahead of it. They saw the heavy rains. They were monitoring things very closely. They kept people safe, equipment safe, and fortunately, and the environment was safe as well. And coming out of it, they're going to be able to make lemon out of lemonade, if you will. Sorry to make such a analogy, considering the gravity of the event, but that's what they're doing. They're moving forward, and Camino Rojo is a great mine. It provides a lot of jobs in the state of Zacatecas, where I live. In the community where I live, I see the Camino Rojo trucks all the time. And, it creates a lot of great jobs. It's very good for the state of Zacatecas. And it's great for the business to see a mining company operating like this in a challenging situation. And they'll be back on their feet very soon. And they talk about how they're getting back on their feet. Now, this is only one of their mines. Uh, they also acquired the Musselwhite mine from Newmont, and that was a non-core mine for Newmont. But for a company for a mid-tier, it's a tier one mine for a mid-tier, actually. It's a great mine for a mid-tier. And down the pipeline, they also have the South Railroad project in Nevada. And let's pull up their chart and let's see how things reacted in the market to this event. And, or actually, it's a series of events that are interesting. So, this big run came because of the great operations at Camino Rojo and acquiring the Musselwhite mine. Here's when the news went out. They ended up the news went out when it was trading at about $17.11, came all the way down to $12.70, but now it's recovering. And I think it won't be long before they're back on that bullish trend. So yeah, I like Orla a lot. I like their pipeline of projects. I like the quality of their Camino Rojo mine and the great things that are going to come out of Musselwhite. And yeah, they're going to be a very low cost miner, high margins. And yeah, it's one of my two mid-tier picks. So nothing has changed in that regard. All right, Arizona Mining, or sorry, Arizona Gold and Silver. This is not a pick, and I'm not ready to make it a pick just of yet. I have talked about it in the past in my reports because I've been following it for a long time, but I think they're coming into a milestone that could be quite important, and I wanted those that follow my reports to know about what I see in this news release. So Arizona gold and silver intersects 14.5 grams per ton of gold within 22.6 meters of 4.24 grams per ton of gold at the Philadelphia project in Arizona. All righty. As you can see, they had good intersections here of in an epithermal vein with good grades, 14 and a half grams of gold, 14 grams of silver, 9 grams of gold, 16 grams of silver, and some more hits in the holes. Um, what this is a very interesting map because I want to show you something here. So in these epithermal veins, there is certain zones that are really important. As you're high in the system, you have what's called breccia. So what this is that it's broken up country rock that the quartz vein makes its way into and kind of mixes in with that breccia. So all the gold and silver in these kind of systems is contained within the quartz. All right. And but when you send in the core, you don't get to take out just the quartz. You got to take the country rock that's in that breccia unit. So it has a way of diluting the grade. So it's not really representative of the quartz. And you got to get down into the primary quartz vein in and the boiling zone where the temperature and pressure is perfect for important mines. A lot of epithermal, a lot of gold is mined through epithermal veins, gold and silver. In Mexico, a lot of the great silver mines, they're all epithermal vein mines, but you got to get down to the guts of the system, into the boiling zone of the system. So let's go through and look how things have changed as they got deeper. I'm particularly interested in the high grade. I'm not really interested in the shoulders of it. I look at what's happening with the high grade. And as you can see here, they got 3.2 grams per ton of gold there in that high grade intersection. You go down, let's say 50 meters, and you get a little thicker intersection. This one was 1.37 meters. Now you're into 6.74 meters, and you can see 3.79 grams per ton of gold. So a slight increase in the gold and a significant increase in the silver. Well, actually, this had no silver in it. This has gold and silver. So now you're starting to get into the juicier parts of the system and you get a thicker intersection. So you move another 50 or 75 meters, whatever it may be, and now you've got 9.1 meters. And the grade is 6.4 grams per ton of gold and 9.2 grams per ton of silver. So here you're at 3.79 grams of gold. Here you're at 6.4. So you're getting closer to that main part of the system. Now again here, now in between these high grade hits, you actually have a 22.47. Now this I pay attention to. Now you have 22.47 meters of 3.045 grams per ton in between those two hits. Up here, you've got 1.59 of 11.5 grams per ton of gold and 3.69 grams per ton of gold at the other end of it. So you see the grades are picking up as you get deeper. Now you get down a little bit deeper and you have to be a little bit careful of these, the widths of these, because to get the true width, you come in at a 9 perpendicular, and that will give you the true width of this intersection. So keep that in mind for this hole and this hole. But nonetheless, you've got in red 22.6 meters of 4.24 grams per ton of gold. And now I'll get into to the purple, which is represents your high grade. 1.83 meters of 5.73 grams, a meter of 9.9 grams, a meter and a half of 14.5 grams, a meter and a half of 5.78 grams. So as you can see, now you're getting more of this high grade. Now it's getting more interesting, but you're still not into the boiling zone of the system where you see just quartz and it's no longer quartz breccia. Now, notice that they've got another hole that's in progress here. Now, be careful when this result comes out because again, you're not perpendicular to the vein itself. So here you're kind of going right down the vein. So that can give you a little bit of a challenge when it comes to the true width of this vein. But what I am hoping to see is that we continue to see this trend, 3.79 grams of gold, 6.4 grams of gold, 9.2 grams of gold, 11.5 grams of gold, 6 point. So it's getting juicier as you're getting further into the system. Now, up here, you'll have a lot of that mixing in the breccia. So a lot more of the country rock than the quartz. As you start to get down, you get more quartz and less country rock in the breccia unit. But you still haven't got down to that boiling zone yet. And in reality, you're only looking at about, let's say, 300, 800 feet of distribution there. So that's like 300 meters, which in these kind of systems, that's kind of normal. You know, a lot of times you go down to 300 or 400 meters and then you've got 300 or 400 meters of the boiling zone. So I'm watching this project closely. I'm liking what I'm seeing in the trend of the amount of quartz in the breccia. As they get deeper, you're getting more quartz and less country rock and higher grades. And I think that will continue. Now, eventually, I'd like to see them get over here more and drill perpendicular to this and get even deeper into the system. All right. But yeah, this Philadelphia project is a very interesting epithermal vein system. Greg Hahn, who's their head geologist, he's I think VP exploration, sorry, he reported, and I quote, Core hole PC 25-155 has delivered an exceptional intercept, showcasing strong continuity of impressive vein thickness with a notable increase in gold grade with depth to date. The involving vein textures, particularly the increasing replacement of bladed calcite by yellow quartz, I talked about that earlier, are classic markers of a high-grade epithermal system and signal that we are approaching the heart of the boiling zone, where gold grades typically spike significantly. These textures are similar to those seen in the historic Oatman gold mining district just 10 miles south, which produced over 2 million ounces of gold from similar high-grade veins. Like Oatman, we believe the Philadelphia vein system has the potential to rapidly open up into high-grade zones capable of delivering substantially increased grades. Hole PC 25-156, currently advancing toward the target zone below hole 155, is poised to test this exciting interpretation. If the system continues to behave as expected, we could be on the cusp of unlocking a major high-grade gold discovery, end quote. That's not an overstatement in any way, shape, or form, folks. And it would be interesting to me, as they quote the Oatman Gold Mining District, be interesting to see some of the gold distribution in that system because it would give you an indication of where the boiling zone is located underground. Um, This company has spent a lot of money chasing near surface gold mineralization in other parts of this project. But this to me is where they should be spending all their, or having the majority of their focus. They've noticed this quite a long time ago in 2022. And, in the last few years, they've only drilled a few holes into it. I'd really like to see them rolling up their sleeves and going after this in a big way because this looks like an important epithermal vein and there could be more of them on the property. Um, it would be interesting to see them extend some of these holes and see if they can hit alteration and possibly blind veins, because blind veins in an epithermal vein cluster are very important as well. Earlier, I talked about Juanicipio and Mag Silver. Those two veins that make up that Mag Silver's mine that got them bought out by Pan American Silver are blind veins. And sometimes the only way you can find them is if you encounter them as you're going down the hole towards the vein or beyond the hole. And the way to get to that is you got to extend these holes maybe 100, 150 100 meters beyond where your vein is. And hopefully you start seeing alteration and then expand from there. But yeah, I think these epithermal veins on this Philadelphia project are the most important thing they have. And I really hope they roll their sleeves up and get really aggressive. Um, the company portrays itself as being very frugal, and sometimes being frugal can cost you money. It doesn't save you money. They have a project that requires rolling up your sleeves and getting more aggressive with. I hope that's exactly what they do because I think they've got an important vein cluster of our epithermal vein cluster, and there could be several more in this area in this cluster, and uh, and I think that's much more important than their surface zones that might make up a small open pit type operation. Who knows? Maybe it's bigger, maybe I'm wrong. But when I see these numbers in the holes, the old truth machine tells me where they should be, where I'd be drilling, and the grades tell you where you should be drilling. So I'm a high grade gold junkie, and I think they could have a real special situation in these epithermal veins. All right. The final company today is Dynasty Gold. Um, Dynasty Gold discovers visible gold in previously drilled core and commences exploration at Thundercloud Project in Ontario. Highlights the relogging of previous Dynasty drill core by field geologists confirmed visible gold in drill hole DP22-03. This was drilled in 2022. Assay results from that back then returned 3 meters of 151 grams of gold. Relogging is ongoing in the company's plan to reassay the core using metallic screen fire assays. You know, it's pretty, how do I say this politically correctly? How do you miss this gold in your when you're logging it? That's just that stands out like a sore thumb. The only way you could have, they call it relogging. My guess is this was never logged properly, because you just nobody can miss this. That's just a phenomenal amount of visible gold. And to not see it when you did your first logging makes me question who they had doing the logging and if it was in fact even logged. Um, but nonetheless, that's phenomenal gold to see. That's a phenomenal amount of visible gold to see, even if it's a few years after the fact. They talk about geological mapping, trenches, average grades, some really high grade in the trenches of silver and gold. Ivy Chong, who is the Chief Executive Officer and President, stated, and I quote, "We are excited to discover sections of previous drill core with visible gold at shallow depths. We are re-logging all of the core to ensure that there are no missed intervals with visible gold that have not been assayed. We continue to discover high-grade mineralization on Thunder Cloud, whether it is in the recent drilling by Dynasty or in historical core. That this demonstrates the richness of the high-grade gold mineralization at Thundercloud. 95% of the property has yet to be drilled. We look forward to beginning our 2025 drill campaign in the coming days." End quote. So, yeah, I mean, again, to miss this is just unexcusable. They got to get serious loggers in there looking over every millimeter because you just can't miss this. This is easily visible with the naked eye. You don't need a hand lens to see that. You could see that from 10 feet away if you looked at it. So, yeah, that's a pretty exciting, it's a high grade orogenic gold system. That's what these can have. I hope that they really ramp up the work that they're doing, ramp up the drilling, ramp up the people that are doing the logging and cutting of the core and looking over every millimeter. I mean, this was cut core. How could you not see it? But it was missed. They are relogging it all. That's good. It is a very good project. When you see gold like this in a core, it's pretty special stuff. I hope that they really crank things up and give it the old college try a little more seriously. But yeah, this company has a very minimal valuation and a very good project. I hope they learn from this and they really get treating it like the special project that it is for an orogenic gold system and get after chasing it to depth. Because if you see this kind of gold so close to the surface, you could have bonanza zones in an orogenic gold system 50, 100, 150 meters that keep on going. That would be a company making kind of asset. Yeah, that's the Dynasty Gold story. Let me quickly go, before I close, I want to go into the gold and silver because I'm seeing some really exciting things. Gold has been going sideways. It has the top end of the range has been about 35.60, let's say. And as you can see, it's been making higher lows here. And I think it's at an inflection point. As you can see, it's been trading right around this 50-day moving average. And just in the last few days, it's made a significant breakout. I think it's ready to start going into record highs. And I'm going to go back to the weekly chart. I'm going to show you something interesting here. Um, Back in 2020, it made a run at getting over 2000 here, failed. Again here in early 2022, failed. Again here in early 2023, slightly failed. And then it made an important breakout in early 2024 and has gone parabolic, or not parabolic, but at a very bullish trend that has a lot higher to go. But what I'm talking about here is one, two, three, even four attempts at it before it really made the significant breakout. And look at what we're seeing here on the daily. One, two, three, four. And right now it's at that point where it's ready to make that important breakout. And the new breakout will be to new record highs. I think we're within days of that happening. That's the gold and silver. I'll quickly talk about silver because I see important trends happening here too. $35 was a real important point. It hadn't gone above $35 since 2012. And so this was a very important breakout when it broke above $35 an ounce, and it tested, almost got to $40, had some profit taking, and now it's on another rally. I think it's going to go well over $40 before the end of this year, and could make a run at record highs before the end of the year at $50 an ounce. And when it goes through that, I think it will make a series of record highs. The fundamentals for silver are exceptional. There's been a 4 years of deficits of physical demand outstripping physical supply, and that cannot continue. You can't melt silverware to make up that deficit for very long, and I think that that's the coiled spring, or the that is going to release and send gold into to $50, over $40 to $50, and into new record highs in 2026. So that's why I'm very bullish on silver, and especially silver stocks. And the same thing can be said for gold. When gold and silver are going up, the equities, the high quality miners, the high quality mid tiers, the high quality junior miners, the high quality developers, the explorers with important discoveries, they significantly outperform the moves in the metal. So I prefer to look at the metals stocks, not investing in the metals themselves. And because you get that extra torque. And that's what I focus on. It's my business. I've been doing it for 32 years. I've been a reporter on it for 20. And so that's how I try to play these moves in metals. And so, yeah, I'm seeing some really exciting things in the gold and silver, and even in the other metals. I think we're in the early days of a new metals bull market that's going to rival the 2001 to 2011 bull market for metals. And I think it's actually going to be more powerful and longer lasting. And I think the way to play that is through the metals stocks that are in the various metals that are heading higher. I focus mainly on gold, silver, and copper, but I do have some that are into platinum and palladium as well, a couple. So, yeah, that's the way I look at playing it. On that note, have a great day. Do your homework, speak with your financial advisors before making any investment decisions. I am merely an idea generator that uses 32 years of experience in the mining business to help you to find good ideas to do your homework on, and speak with your financial advisors to assess your risk profile, and then decide if you want to be an investor in them. But the big thing is the homework. I think it's important for investors to be well informed on the metals they're involved with and the metal stocks, because well informed investors don't make emotional decisions when they invest. They make logical decisions based on fundamentals and trends. And they're not so swayed by emotions that make for a recipe for disaster in investing in any sector. So be a well-informed investor. Have a great day. Have a great evening, depending on where you are. And we will talk to you soon.